Solomon Nelson is back. After surgically dissecting Mr. Mike Israetel, he releases a video called Jeff Nippard, my former client, has turned nasty.
Yes, master.
Solomon Nelson, release the Nipstein Fayez.
I pray you have considered the cost. It shall be done.
This guy's like Thanos, one-shotting everyone.
Jeff Nippard, a former client of mine, has turned nasty. Before we get into that, some context is needed. As you're probably aware, Mike Israetel has officially responded to my recent viral video, Mike Israetel's PhD, the biggest academic sham in fitness, in which I single-handedly unearthed what has turned out to be an academic scandal.
He did do that, and it was single-handedly too.
This video will critically analyze Jeff Nippard's reaction to the situation. For those unfamiliar, Jeff Nippard is a prominent figure in the fitness world.
First, Jeff Nippard defends the fake natties, Mr. Perfect, and Hussein Farhat. Now he's running defense, straight glazing. Michael?
He's a competitive bodybuilder, a highly successful YouTuber, and a self-proclaimed exercise scientist. My former client, Jeff Nippard, has not only weighed in on my critique of Mike Israetel's PhD.
Bro out here adding semicolons to Mike's rough draft from 13 years ago thinking he did something. It's already over because Solomon Nelson has portrayed Jeff Nippard as his former client. That's a power move. It's so petty and funny.
PhD thesis in the comments section of Mike Israetel's Instagram page, but also reached out to me via email.
You know why? Because it levels the playing field. You're my equal. You're not holier than me. You're not more mighty than me just because you got some followers. No shot.
Email and Instagram direct messages with, among other things, a very interesting request. In chapter 2 of this video, I'll outline the story where Mike Israetel first alleged that I reviewed a mistakenly uploaded draft copy of his doctoral thesis, but subsequently admitted that I'd reviewed the correct text. I'll then pivot to Jeff Nippard in chapter 3, where I'll provide some important framing by going over my history with this so-called scientist and how he came to be my 2-time consulting client. In chapter 4,
Dude, who is this guy? Where did he come from? He was just in the cryogenic chamber of the shitness industry waiting to be launched into orbit like an ODST.
Provide an overview of Jeff's recent attacks on me and his interesting request. In chapter 5, I'll critically analyze said attacks and his interesting request. In chapter 6, I conclude by discussing
Monsters aren't born, they're created.
broader implications. On hearing about my review of Mike Israetel's dissertation, the author, Dr. Mike, claimed that the version of the thesis that I downloaded was a draft, uploaded to the university's official repository by mistake.
We now know Solomon was looking at an accidentally uploaded incorrect rough draft.
That's not true. This is taken from Dr. Milo Wolf's channel.
I've lied. I've lied a lot.
I guess technically I submitted the wrong draft to the graduate school.
Lying is easy as hell. I can do it at the drop of a hat.
A mere 4 days later, Mike confessed on Instagram that the version that I'd read and reviewed was in fact the one that had been examined and passed in 2013. It therefore looks as if Mike lied about a superior version existing in 2013. that he had concocted a clean version for upload in October 2025 to substitute fraudulently for the one that was examined, that the cover-up was not going to convince anyone intelligent, and that the lie would backfire. So he walked it back. In the meantime, however, a lot of people had...
I don't get into drama, but here's a quick recap on my Instagram instead of a response on my YouTube channel. Yeah, he would have done better with a ukulele and a video titled I'm Sorry.
rallied behind Mike, denouncing me as a fool who had read and reviewed the...
Lyle McDonald versus Mike is a grade A Kobe beef. Essentially, this is a proxy war, and this is Lyle McDonald's strongest soldier. I don't know the content of his character, of this shadowy Lyle McDonald. In fact, I don't even think I need to.
wrong version, as if I somehow hadn't exercised due caution with my library skills. Jeff Nippard, the self-proclaimed scientist, was among them. A gullible Jeff Nippard.
Dude, Jeff Nippard has a posing room.
Rashly assumed that Dr. Mike must be genuine, that he's...
Could you imagine inviting some friends over for like a housewarming? Showing the new place, the new pad? Oh, I've saved the best for last. He just pulls off all his clothes and he's in the mankini. He's in the thong, already tanned. Follow me to my posing room. Your what?
concocted, cleaned-up thesis must have been the correct one. That went
Jeff Nippard has a GT art. I'm going to pretend I didn't read that comment.
to examination in 2013. A scientist should have known better than to accept that story. It should have been obvious to anyone
That's a permaban. You cannot be telling me that.
with a sense of logic that
Nissan, I don't even like Nissan GTRs. They're actually whack. They're actually not cool. Only losers drive them.
Mike's story was improbable. Coach Greg called it immediately. Thousands of people on the internet began
I remember when Nissan GTRs were cool. Never.
to see red flag after red flag in the clean copy that was supposed to replace the crap version that I'd reviewed. It looked like a forgery. It was obvious to everyone with a clear cognitive capacity that Mike's story didn't wash. Even Mike could eventually see it.
Dude, this isn't even my wallpaper. This is the family computer.
And fessed up. But now let's get to the story of how Jeff Nippard decided to weigh in on all of this with his razor
Yeah, my little brother did that. I gotta teach him. That shit's gay as hell.
sharp intellect. This chapter describes my rich history with Jeff Nippard, which will nicely contextualize his recent attacks on me. As it
I've seen this smile before. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The shit-eating grin. He's not revealing his true power level yet. What is bro gonna drop? He's enjoying this. He's literally grinning.
teenage lifter, I was a huge admirer of Jeff's. He was, at one point, my favorite content creator. However, I grew disillusioned with him upon reading several of his frankly terrible training programs. And when I say terrible, I truly mean it.
Bench press specialization program. I mean, I'll just give you that for free. Bench 3 days a week. 5x5. 5x3, 3x3, 5x1.
On the 6th of January 2024, a 24-year-old Solomon Nelson released a video critiquing Jeff.
This guy's literally the Incredibles villain. He started off admiring all these people, and after years of watching their slop, he was like, no more. I wonder who that sounds like. Yeah, I wonder which video popped off in my YouTube career. It's almost like when I started calling people out for their bullshit.
Nippard's bench press specialization program. In the video, I contended that it contained workouts that'd be physically impossible for most. The impossible workout calls for 4 sets of 6 reps at 85% of 1 rep max, with 3 to 5 minute rest intervals
There's no way you're hitting 85% of your 1 rep max for 4 sets of 6.
between sets on the bench press. So most online calculators suggest that the number of reps you can perform in an all-out set of any exercise done at 85% of 1 rep max is about 5 to 6. Hilariously, 2 of the 3 references in the calculator that Jeff Nippard provides in his book on pages 64 to 65 suggest that 5 reps is the absolute maximum number of reps you can perform at 85% of 1 rep
Bro wants me to spend 30 minutes on one movement.
max, with the 3rd reference on the table suggesting that you can perform 6 reps at 85% of 1 rep max. Even Dr. Pak Androulakis Korakakis, whom Jeff has interviewed, has a chart that you can download from his website which suggests that you can only do 5 to 6 reps at 85% of 1 rep max. In most powerlifting programs, the very maximum number of reps you'll see prescribed at 85% of 1 rep max is 5, which leaves at most 1 rep in reserve. But it doesn't stop there. See, Jeff doesn't want you to do just one top set of 6 at 85% of your...
He wants fucking 4. That's how you know Jeff is on the juice. I remember looking at a few workout programs back in the day and being like, this amount of volume is actually not sustainable. The daily undulating periodization, 6 days in the gym a week, heavy ass lifting, straight retarded for a natty. You want to know where I got most of my strength from? Honing in on key compound lifts, being loyal to the 5x5, taking adequate rest days, and being in a caloric surplus. I kept it so simple, some would even call it minimalistic. But for some reason, people are like, oh, there's no way that's how you actually grow muscle. You want results or you want to fuck around? Keep it simple, slug.
your 1 rep max. No, Jeff wants you to do 3 more sets the exact same way, with 3 to 5 minute rest intervals. Jeff's program asks you to train to or even beyond failure with 0 performance loss across 4 sets. I really have no words for how incredibly poorly this workout is designed. I mean, it is quite literally impossible by design, whether Jeff intended it to be or not. I mentioned Pak Androulakis Korakakis in my critique of Jeff Nippard's bench press specialization program. A quick note is now necessary.
Ice Cream Fitness Moggs. Jason Blaha is the true champion of the people.
For him. His recent reference to executing Order 66 on me is a staggering lapse in professional judgment.
They call us influencers, but where were they when we were Order 66ing Rich Piana's ex-wife in the comments back in the good day when he got slapped by Rich Piana? RIP Rich Piana. Shout out Jason Genova.
To invoke a meme synonymous with...
When I was in college, the first person that I recognized in the shitness industry to follow me was Jason Genova. This is before I was even on any sort of radar on YouTube. I had about 100 subscribers, maybe a couple thousand on Instagram. Jason Genova was my first follower. I was like, oh shit!
The cruel, coordinated cyberbullying of a famously vulnerable individual who no longer wants to be in the public eye is not some clever inside joke. It's a standard of discourse we expect from anonymous trolls, not scholars with PhDs, even ones from such low-ranking schools as PAC's Solent University, which ranked
Soylent University?
124th out of 129 institutions in the REF 2021.
That doesn't matter. You're supposed to follow and stalk your professor that's going to give you the PhD. Everyone knows this.
Such a reference is surely unbecoming of a man with PAC's credentials, and if anything, it's backfired. Rather than landing some kind of witty blow, it's only served to tarnish his own credibility, and expose a mean-spiritedness that undermines his authority. If you're going to gain a PhD of whatever standard, then at least do the qualification the honour of behaving like a decent person. My advice to Pack: be careful. You lack prudence, and your intervention was childish and undignified. I nevertheless look forward to your next appearance on Jeff Nippard's channel. See if you can say something worthwhile on it. There are lots of bad training programs out there. So why single out Jeff? I gave 3 reasons in my video. 1. He should be held to a higher standard.
Because he's brainy and informed, I think many people would pretty much believe anything that he says. And so we should hold Jeff to a higher standard than other people in the fitness industry.
2. His failures cause self-blame.
When the program fails you, you're not going to blame the program or its author
You're going to blame yourself.
for failing you, but rather you're going to blame yourself. You're going to think, maybe I'm not cut out for this strength training thing.
And 3. His failures damage evidence-based training.
In short, the fact that it's Jeff who's...
Do I agree with the higher standard bit? I just kind of see through the shitfluencers for what they are. Like I said, pencil neck nerds and dorks don't really have a place in fitness and lifting communities, cultures. Like, they do. But the fact that there's millions of people that are just eating it up, it's an immediate red flag to me. There's not that much nuance to sell and package people. It's so simple. But people don't understand how simple it is. They're like, no, it can't be that easy. It's like, it is, but are you actually crossing off the things that matter? Are you in a caloric surplus? Are you fueling your body right? Are you sleeping enough? Are you resting? Are you doing compound movements? Everyone wants the magic bullet. They want the supplement. They want instant gratification. That's why everyone hops on roids and does it the easy way.
written a bad program and not Joe Sixpack magnifies the damage. It'll decrease people's faith in evidence-based training.
As a fledgling fitness content creator, with absolutely zero understanding of the dark magic that is turning my arguments into views, I assumed that my critique of Jeff's program would get no traction and quickly be forgotten, which it basically did. And had it not been for Jeff's recent provocations, things probably would have stayed that way. But to my amazement, within a day or two of posting my critique of his program, I got a reply from Jeff Nippard himself in the comments section.
Nobody cares about old-fashioned hard work these days. It's just because it's not glamorous. There's nothing to sell. That's why I've never sold a fitness product. No plans. I would feel like a LARPer. I would feel stupid. I would feel scammy.
On screen is my comment exchange with Jeff about his bench press specialization program. Jeff publicly conceded that the program was flawed and in need of an update.
But I shouldn't say all programming and strength and conditioning is fake. No, there's just applications of this. People train professional athletes, Olympic competitors. There's a specificity angle that is 100% scientific. It's just that hypertrophy and bodybuilding and the shitness industry as we know it is fake and gay. It's pageantry. Standing on stages, getting IFBB pro cards, getting judged by other men.
Attempted to downplay the severity of the issue. He described the percentages as merely a bit too high and suggested that the impossible workout wasn't a huge deal. I dismantled Jeff's...
What about Fat Grips? Would I have a sponsor code? The only fat grip I need is this green tip.
defense. I clarified that the problem wasn't minor, but rather a fundamentally impossible workout, 4 sets of 6 at 85% of 1 rep max, prescribed for his target audience. I exposed the flaws in his reasoning by pointing out that his suggestion to...
But there are some fitness products that are actually really good. Mark Bell's Slingshot. I don't use the benching one. I use the glute band, the hip circles. insane product.
Adhere to RPE guidelines was irrelevant, as no such guidelines were provided for the workout in question. Only the impossible percentages were. I also challenged his contradictory claim that most people running this program are not advanced enough for it to be impossible, reminding him that the program was explicitly advertised and sold to intermediate and advanced trainees. However, I was so starstruck that the great Jeff Nippard decided to grace my small channel that I decided to send him an email offering to review his other programs privately and free of charge, because I genuinely wanted to help him put out better, more scientifically accurate information. However, after a few months of waiting for a reply that never came, I decided I'd keep reviewing his bad programs publicly, since I figured if I can't help his huge audience behind the scenes, then I may as well caution it in public.
Women's specialization program.
The second of Jeff's bad training programs that I critiqued publicly was his so-called women's specialization program, whatever that means. I released my critique on the 27th of May 2024. I argued that the program contains 5 major flaws. 1. Inbuilt junk volume.
So if you've got room to progress in weight or reps, and yet you're always lifting the exact same weights for the exact same reps, then by definition, you'll eventually be doing junk volume. In Jeff's own words, this may have you struggling to get BMI.
The only workouts women need to do are hip thrusts. I will not elaborate further. Every man needs a Mewtwo baddie to sit on his face.
Beyond the intermediate stage.
But if this type of volume dominates your routine, you might have a hard time getting past the beginner to early intermediate stage.
2. Excessive volume.
The answer is 54. No well-conducted study hitherto has demonstrated statistically significant benefits in going that high.
3. Excessive frequency.
Jeff and Stephanie's program doesn't do high frequency right, because it just doesn't correctly reconcile volume, intensity, and frequency.
Stephanie Buttermore, Jeff Nippard's wife, also a fitness influencer. I remember she did this whole diet thing where she just essentially mukbanged every day. I have all this useless information in the filing cabinets of my brain. I think she called it going all in.
This is just an injury waiting to happen.
4. Excessively high rep sets.
Why would you do a set of 30 to failure when instead you could do a set of 8 to failure? Because even if the resulting muscle growth is the same, with a set of 30 to failure, you have to go through something like 26 exhausting reps before you get to the truly growth-stimulating ones. Whereas with a set of 8 to failure, you only have to go through 4.
And 5. A lack of scientific backing.
Stephanie claims on her website that the women's specialization is backed by science. This claim...
I need to get a microphone like this. I think it actually enhances the production quality. Like I'm a pilot. This is too clean.
...is false. How Jeff and Stephanie got from greater than or equal to 10 weekly sets for optimal growth to their prescription of 54 weekly sets for the glutes is simply beyond me. I found out that Jeff and Stephanie are time travelers, accessing Brett's 2014 article a full 4 years before it was published.
As with my critique of Jeff Nippard's bench press specialization program, within a day or two of posting my critique, Jeff Nippard left another comment. A much
Holy.
longer comment this time around. In Jeff's comment, he expressed significant respect for my feedback, crediting my first video critique directly for prompting a much-needed and a lot better update to his
So Solomon called him out on the bench program. Jeff changed it.
bench press specialization program. Jeff then conceded that the women's specialization program is also deeply flawed and requires...
Isn't that cool? You can make a lot of money off your audience by selling bad products and then just adjust it later. No. This is the new and improved program, I swear. What the fuck, Jeff? I've been doing years of junk volume.
Complete overhaul, agreeing that the volume is too high, the frequency is too high. Jeff attributed these significant design errors to the program being...
Think about this. We did push-ups and sit-ups every single day for 9 weeks in boot camp, and I think everyone increased the number of push-ups they could do in 2 minutes. Yeah, it's specificity and frequency. You don't use it, you lose it.
very old, and to a period where he was, in his own words,
Pay me another $40 for the new fixed version. It's patched now.
massively overestimating how advanced his audience was. Jeff explained that at the time, his programming decisions were largely in line with the prevailing high-volume trend promoted by many science guys. Jeff noted that during this period, he was interviewing figures like my friend Lyle McDonald. He highlighted that, interestingly, Lyle's perspective was one of the few...
Yeah, the enshittification has reached new heights now that there's microtransactions in the fitness industry. Buy my hypertrophy app and cookbook. Buy this pill and powder. I can't wait. I can't wait for the flagship product to drop. Something real and true. No fillers, no additives. Something that you could feel and grip, look at, even admire.
Cutting against high-volume training at this time, a view that contrasts with the flawed approach he chose to follow for the program. While briefly attempting to justify the extreme volumes by referencing a recent study and his own positive customer anecdotes, he ultimately reiterated his agreement with my assessment that it is too much. Jeff also asserted that he didn't plagiarize Lyle McDonald, explaining that, as a long-time fan of Lyle's work, and someone who was also working for him on an affiliate basis, any similarities are coincidental. As well as leaving a comment, Jeff sent me an email expressing interest in the thought of me reviewing his training programs in my capacity as an expert consultant. Throughout my interactions with Jeff Nippard, over the course of my 2 paid consulting engagements with him, I've respected the confidentiality.
I need to start consulting. People would pay a pretty penny for your boy's wisdom.
Of our private correspondences, and I'll continue to do so by not sharing direct quotes, specific financial details, or proprietary project information. Following my critique, Jeff Nippard initiated contact to engage my consulting services. We began with a preliminary 1-hour review of an old program. The feedback I provided was received very positively, and he described my work as being exceptionally thorough. Based on the quality of that initial review, Jeff immediately proposed a significantly larger and more complex project with a much broader scope. We then engaged in a standard professional negotiation regarding the terms, timeline, and remuneration for this larger body of work. Ultimately, we reached a mutually agreeable arrangement, and I proceeded to complete the project as specified. Several months later, I was approached by Jeff Nippard's team for a second, time-sensitive consulting project.
Alright, so the first one, no issues. Second consultation, time sensitive.
I prioritized the work to meet their tight deadline and delivered my analysis
Bro flamed Jeff so hard he ended up on his payroll. There's a lesson in there.
promptly. Once again, the feedback on my contribution was explicitly positive and highly appreciative. In both instances, I was contracted for my expertise, delivered high-quality work on schedule, and received positive feedback from Jeff Nippard himself. Our relationship was that of a professional consultant and a satisfied client.
The disappearing comment.
Remember that comment Jeff left on my critique of his women's specialization program? One day I checked the comments section and noticed that it was gone. On the 9th of April 2025, shortly after noticing, I decided to initiate an email exchange with Jeff by politely inquiring about how the comment, which I characterized as thoughtful and conciliatory, had disappeared. I asked if Jeff had, by any chance, deleted it. In his response, which came a mere day later, Jeff denied removing the comment, stating, "I definitely didn't delete it." He then speculated that YouTube itself might have been responsible, suggesting that it could have been...
To be fair, some YouTube comments literally get taken down for no reason. Or so it seems. But to clear this up, to make sure that you're not lying, I would probably just include a screenshot, because sometimes it appears for the person that left the comment but not other people.
flagged, or might still be visible in my channel's back-end administrative view. I promptly replied, graciously accepting Jeff's explanation.
Don't fuck with noticers. Yeah, I can't help but notice.
At face value, with "No worries at all, I believe you." I remarked on how strange it was that the platform would remove what had been such a nice and constructive comment. Jeff didn't reply, and so that closed the otherwise brief and positive interaction. When Jeff Nippard's thoughtful and conciliatory comment on my critique video vanished, it naturally raised some questions. How often does a perfectly constructive comment from a major creator simply disappear from YouTube? The incident prompted a more significant line of thought. Did Jeff Nippard lie? And if
Surely not. If he's lying about this, what else is he lying about?
Jeff Nippard lied about something so minor, then what else might he have lied about?
I can make YouTube videos. Shh. Somebody get me a camera.
Despite these suspicions, I chose to reserve judgment at the time, and outwardly gave him the benefit of the doubt in our exchange. Still,
How'd I get the script? Got 3 eyes, bro. I see the unseen.
the matter was significant. His comment was the only public paper trail connecting us in a constructive professional capacity, and its disappearance effectively erased the only visible record of that dialogue from the platform. However, I am meticulous with my records. I checked my archives and found that I had taken screenshots of his comment on the evening of the 27th of May 2024 at 10:49 p.m. To preserve this record on the platform itself, after university one day, I recorded a short, unlisted video clearly displaying his comment, pinned it to my original review of his women's specialization program, and then moved on with my life. This was, for all intents and purposes, a closed chapter. Until, that is, the strangely dramatic developments that have unfolded recently.
Never fuck with someone who's meticulous.
Jeff Nippard made 2 public responses to my critique of Mike Israel's PhD thesis, and he also reached out via email and Instagram direct messages. In this chapter, I'll provide an overview of Jeff's interventions.
Why are they all gay for Mike? It's lonely at the top. They gotta stick together. Because they both make a lot of money in the same sector of science-based lifting. They have cornered the market.
Jeff left 2 comments
They're all in business with him. Wait till the end.
on Mike's Instagram page. The first, dated 4th of October 2025, read, "Bro was out here adding semicolons to Mike's rough draft from 13 years ago, thinking he did something." The comment was liked by Mike Israel. Jeff then left this comment on a later post by Mike Israel. Solomon trying to play off his Reddit-brained parasocial anti-fan hit piece as a good faith attempt to help fix the way administrators are...
Yo. Those are fighting words. Somebody calls me Reddit brained. Oh, it's war.
...their papers is pretty funny. Jeff has since deleted both comments.
I love how he's still noticing the deletion of comments.
Shortly after leaving his semicolons comment, Jeff Nippard contacted me to request the removal of a line in my channel description that he felt implied a current client relationship.
Yo. The relationship is spoiling in real time.
I responded by offering to amend the line to reflect accurately that Jeff is a past client. Jeff declined this offer and asked that his name be removed entirely. He explained his reasoning by first characterizing our professional history as limited to editing work.
Get ready for these DMs, bro. Sharing DMs is nasty work. It's about to be a bloodbath.
On a single, unreleased program over a year ago. He also expressed a view that he doesn't align with the content style of my channel. Noticing that his emails were sent from an unfamiliar address, I paused the discussion to request identity verification before proceeding. After confirming his identity via Instagram direct messages, Jeff reiterated his request for his name to be removed entirely. He stated that he can't remember if he ever gave permission for his likeness to be used for promotion. He followed this with a long, unsolicited message detailing his personal grievances with my other industry associates.
Bullying my partner. Yo. He's calling out Greg Doucette, Lyle McDonald.
And once again criticizing my recent content, before asking for the communication to be kept private.
Yo. This is not good.
I didn't engage with the personal grievances outlined in Jeff's direct messages, and instead merely informed Jeff via email that I had updated my channel's description accurately and factually to state, in fact, Jeff Nippard is a past client of mine. Let us now critically analyze Jeff's interventions in support of Saint Mike, as well as his recent personal exchanges with me. Bro was out here adding semicolons to Mike's rough draft from 13 years ago, thinking he did something. Jeff, was that all I did?
Is that what he said? I thought your video was petty.
In the video? Did you mean that
I feel like he's comboing right now. He hasn't even ulted yet.
adding semicolons was the full extent of my critique? It's true that I observed irregularities with semicolons and other conventions. But for scientist Jeff to mention them alone while neglecting the careful argument about the dissertation's content was a tendentious half-truth. Jeff drew attention to the technical punctuation stuff and ignored the rest, which is most of the video. That's called straw manning. And then when he talks about adding semicolons to Mike's rough draft from 13 years ago, scientist Jeff presumably thinks that he's doing a line in witty caricature. Very funny, Jeff, because it's as if I should have known that the thesis published to the learned community on East Tennessee State University's official website was just a rough draft, which we now know it wasn't. There I was, adding semicolons to a rough draft.
Yeah, it sort of reduces his entire critique down to just punctuation. It's disrespectful. Bro put a lot of work into the criticism, the dismantling.
Fool am I? Surely the supposition, as Mike himself admitted, was reasonable.
I don't blame him for going hard on it because he has every reason.
How are they business partners, though? Am I stupid? Is it macro factor? Renaissance periodization? Do they just collab a lot?
Reasonable idea to think this was the final draft.
The text uploaded by the university and downloaded in good faith by scholars is the final version, with sign-off by the supervisor or associate dean. Who was to know that the candidate and the university was so incompetent that they couldn't upload the correct version? And how come Jeff represented me as the fool when the mistake was Mike's? Anyway, how the hell did scientist Jeff know that the originally uploaded text of Mike's thesis was just a rough draft?
That's right. I feel like I'm at the top of a roller coaster. And shit's about to go down, dude.
He hadn't seen the verified, date-stamped metadata confirming the claim that in 2013 a clean version of the thesis went to examination. No one had seen proof that such a virgin draft existed, because it was a lie. It was obvious to Coach Greg, who said that the story about the draft sounded mighty improbable, and for all we know, could even be a cover-up, which it proved to be. Mike's whoopsie, wrong version story was simply something that uncritical Jeff wanted to
They need to settle this in a live boxing match. I would watch that. I would even sponsor it.
believe, rather than something that he knew. Scientists don't make that kind of leap. They remain agnostic until persuaded by firm evidence, not by personal allegiance or convenience. And finally, adding semicolons to Mike's rough draft from 13 years ago. From 13 years ago is supposed to suggest that something from 13 years ago is too old to be dredged up. And by the way, he got his dates wrong. It was 12 years ago. It's water under the bridge. Something as trivial as semicolons in the...
Coach Greg has a massive professional jealousy with Mike, someone without a pro card, and who isn't as lean, is way more successful to him. He wants to be number one. There is a weird level of envy going on there. I think behind all the smoke and mirrors, Greg Doucette is probably a really nice guy. I think he plays an insane character for content, which is somehow more appropriate than being a true demon and playing the nice guy.
right place. Yeah? Really? The whole
I would share my sandwich with Greg. I'd say, hey, Greg, you want some chips too?
premise of the video was to find out what was in Mike's PhD. What does it say? How much authority does it confer? It is immaterial if the date of that PhD was
The Prestige speaks of this. Yeah. It's like Christian Bale versus Hugh Jackman.
this decade, the one before, or the one before that. It makes no difference at all. Scientist Jeff imagined that he could make fun of a critic thinking he did something by digging up an antique and pointing out minor errors, as if the undertaking is just frivolous. Well, the frivolity falls back on Jeff. His peremptory intervention was hollow, shallow, without substance, and foolish. He thought that he could dismiss criticism for reasons that don't stand up. He scoffed at something that he either didn't understand or misrepresented. Throughout all of this, Jeff the scientist had become emotionally involved. His interventions on social media seem uncharacteristically unhinged, as if some inner fury had finally got to him. Solomon...
I think Mike sees this whole controversy as his window to strike and elevate himself, but I really think for at least 60 to 70% of people, this will blow over. I don't know if this is blowing over.
trying to play off his Reddit-brained, parasocial, anti-fan hit piece as a good faith attempt
Oh, you meant Greg?
to help fix the way administrators
Yeah, it's just Mike now and scientist Jeff.
archive their papers is pretty funny. What an
This is the biggest drama in the online fitness community in years. Yeah, there's decades where nothing happens, and then there's weeks where decades happen. This is Shakespearean.
extraordinarily incoherent broadside. What did he mean by Reddit-brained, parasocial, anti-fan hit piece? I understand Reddit brain.
I don't think Greg even truly dislikes Mike. Yeah, I can't speak on their relationship, but I will tell you this. I think, this is my opinion as a YouTuber, Greg views social media in a much healthier way in that it's just content and it's not that serious. Whereas other people get like one-shotted by like, this is business. You're coming after me and my family.
I suppose he means pedantic or some kind of pompous gripe.
Like, I think Greg views it as like, wait, I thought we were both just trying to bag Max. Don't you understand that people thrive off controversy?
And I understand hit piece. But what is parasocial anti-fan supposed to mean? Jeff seems to be seething over something that he thinks is
One would even say coping.
psychopathic. He feels under pressure to make my video seem extra mean and deranged.
If you don't take yourself too seriously, you can't get taken down. So true.
Only he doesn't quite know what he wants to say, and so his words don't make sense. Presumably, Jeff had gone back to my video and seen the disclaimer that I added, acknowledging Mike's assurance that the version of his dissertation that I reviewed was merely a rough draft, uploaded to the university's official repository by mistake. In that announcement, I suggested that the new information raises a different but equally perplexing set of questions.
Bro, I was being the heel. Why are you actually hating me? Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
About institutional quality control. If this was indeed a draft, then how was it possible for it to be officially archived and presented to the learned public as a final approved PhD thesis? So it seems that what Jeff was saying in his unintelligible terminology is that I really just want to create mischief as a destructive, maladjusted freak. So apparently, I've artificially changed the purpose of my video. I'm now pretending that it was about academic filing protocols instead of Mike. But if that's what scientist Jeff meant to imply, then he's certainly
Yo, Solomon's fucking pissed.
not a reliable historian. The concern for the systems that are meant to uphold academic standards was consistent throughout my video. It hasn't been tacked on subsequently to represent the video as something that it isn't. That element about quality control was always there.
That's true. The video is airtight. And if you're going to criticize him or reduce him down to just being a petty hater, you're going to have to respond in a manner that treats it seriously. You can't take the high road here and just be like, oh, what a loser.
Go back and watch it, Jeff, if you ever did the first time. But for me, the additional information claiming that the uploaded text was only a rough draft had to be handled sensitively. Otherwise, if it were really true that they'd uploaded a rough draft in...
How you respond is literally more important than the criticism itself. There's a fucking lesson in there.
error, then the supervisor doesn't deserve all of the blame for a rotten thesis, but only for failing to ensure that the correct draft got uploaded. Hence my statement, whether the failure occurred at the examination stage or at the administrative/archival sign-off, the critique of that system remains. If anything, it's the reverse of what Jeff implies. In my video, I cast doubt on the system that had failed from beginning to end. For scientist Jeff, however, I'd become weaselly.
Scientist Jeff, bro.
I was now trying to play off my video as a good faith attempt to help fix the way administrators archive their papers. And for scientist Jeff, this imputed change of direction is pretty funny. Well, now I'm finding Jeff pretty funny.
PhD being called Dr. Mike is Mike Israel's whole brand, to the point he is selling supplements with the tagline of PhD approved. Yeah, I hear you.
What has happened to the mild man of fitness, the docile dude, championing rationality and good empirical method? Something in the air over Mike Israel seems to have got to him. His impassiveness has broken in the fallout. He's lost his composure. His interventions are gratuitous and garbled. He didn't have to become involved. This was never about him. So why did he feel this sudden zeal to write nasty, polemical distortions?
Because it's affecting his bag. That's my intuition.
Is he panicking over some kind of fear or resentment? Or just missing the attention? In our correspondence, Jeff's assertion that I reviewed only one program is a significant mischaracterization of our professional history. I was engaged on 2 separate occasions for paid consulting work. The first project involved a smaller review that was so well received that it led immediately to a much larger engagement involving the detailed analysis of multiple programs for a significant commercial publication. The second project alone was also much larger than a single program review. In both instances, the
So this would really bother me. If I'm contracted and I actually deliver a service that is high quality and I know in myself the standards that I hold myself to, it's getting personal.
feedback on my contributions was explicitly positive, and the quality of my work is evidenced by the fact that I was hired a second time. The question I'm wondering is, did Jeff forget? Did he lie?
So does this mean the reason why Jeff's programs may now be considered quality is because of Solomon's consultation?
Or is this just what he chooses to believe? And if Jeff lied, then once again I ask, what else might he lie about? Food for thought. Jeff says that he doesn't align with the drama and gossip I do, and yet he's the one who created it in this instance. If he didn't write those offensive, pot-stirring
Do not fuck with my integrity, I will go feral. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
comments about me, then I wouldn't be making this video. You can't be a sneering provocateur and a saint at the same time. I'm wondering now, which Jeff would like to be behind his slick mask? Would the real Jeff please stand up? In another unsolicited, caustic DM, Jeff told me that he considers that the expose on Mike's PhD was petty. How did he come to that conclusion?
As far as I know, fair journalistic standards are to at least reach out to the party before publishing. So while the draft versus final copy error is understandable, it also could have been avoided. I think Mike has better morals than what your content implies. And being a guy I know pretty well, I don't really want to be associated with a channel that goes after him in every other video. I figured since I had a good enough experience working together after a shaky start, I'd at least flesh it out a bit more for you.
If I single
Fair journalism doesn't apply to YouTube, bucko. You must embrace the dark triad.
handedly discover that a doctoral thesis is vacuous and that it passed through a system that prides itself on rigor, then how can that be considered petty? For Jeff, it's petty because in Jeff's kingdom of back scratchers, we must support a dismal understanding that we're all constitutionally mediocre. In the fitness industry, we have to accept that academic standards of originality and rigor don't apply. And it's therefore petty.
Bro's doing the JFK hand gestures. Yeah, he's neuro-linguistic programming. Italians speak of this.
To critique a heap of worthless verbiage like Mike Israetel's doctoral thesis. If a doctoral thesis was so empty in any other field, then a searching critique of it would not be called petty, but alarming. Notwithstanding Jeff's flexible standard of what is fair criticism and what's petty, he waxes sanctimonious in the very next sentence of his direct message. As far as I know, fair journalistic standards are to at least reach out to the party before publishing. First, I'm not a journalist. And
I almost fucking spit out my coffee. Yeah. I've been self-aware about the fact that the word journalist, it's inherently cocked. No, I'm not a fucking journalist. No, I didn't study journalism. I'm a truth seeker, god damn it.
second, Jeff's standard of ethics here is unreasonable. Do you think that a critic about to write a review of an essay published on the internet by an authoritative source first has to reach out to the author to ask, is that your final version or just a draft? What exorbitant labours does Jeff want to commit us to every time we read something, if we have to establish that it's really the version that the author meant?
Yeah, prints out a press pass. You can call me a journalist. I do a little journaling. Journalists are an anti-Semitic dog whistle. So true.
To put out. And then he goes on.
Call me an investigator. Call me a noticer.
So while the draft versus final copy error is understandable, it also could have been avoided. Well, first, how did he know that the error could have been avoided? And second, sorry, but whose error are we talking about? Mine? I didn't make an error. Mike Israel's? East Tennessee's? Scientist Jeff had no idea, but just made the assumption that someone in the room is being malicious. And so everything from that moment on can be dismissed as
They've lost too many brain cells to roids. They'll never rebut this. That's what it seems like.
petty, if not unethical as well. Now that the truth has emerged, I wonder if Scientist Jeff is feeling ashamed of himself for his part in bringing the standards down to an even lower level. Or perhaps he just feels angry with himself that he miscalculated on a strategic basis. For some reason, I can't see where his conscience might play a part. Well, talking of ethics, Jeff finished the DM by asking for it all to be kept private. So why would you send unsolicited, caustic DMs and then try to manipulate the recipient into secrecy? Here's a slap in the face, but don't tell anyone. What's this screwball game that Jeff is playing? If he wanted to keep his thoughts to himself, then why did he go out of his way to confront me with all this antagonism? Is it just that Jeff couldn't resist the opportunity for a power play? Or is it something deeper in his psychology that's suddenly become reactive and agitated? I get the feeling that Jeff was eyeballing the denunciation of Mike's thesis with a feeling of personal dread. Before it was revealed that Mike's clean draft was fraudulent, Jeff seemed to identify with Mike's predicament and protested too much.
That's right. Why would it cause him to freak out so much?
Perhaps he was wondering, how much longer can I go on without being talked about as a talent-free zone, trafficking platitudes that artfully conceal a gaping emptiness, a void papered over with slick photography and suave production values? Ah, Jeff.
This is the Grim Reaper.
You're getting anxious, I can see. And now that you've been caught supporting a denialist fraud, your anxiety must be aggravated manifold. When the second revelation was made that I had in...
This is why I stream in the bottom left corner. On a webcam. What you see is what you get. I don't need 4K color-graded footage to prove to the masses that I'm worthy. I don't need any slick editing. This is off the dome, no script. Kick.com/Philion, multiple hours a day. In the trenches with the boys.
In fact, reviewed the one and only relevant version of the PhD that was examined and passed. Scientist Jeff did his own bit of shabby cleaning up. He dirty deleted his 2 public posts that sought to make fun of me for my Israel critique.
Yeah, I have PhD fatigue.
He now has to reckon with the reality that I was right and he was wrong. Quick, let's hide the evidence. And it's not just a matter of Jeff having been impercipient or dull. Rather, it's that he behaved unscientific.
You would think someone that is so scientific and so fascinated with scientific standards in their content would actually appreciate Solomon's video. But there is a personal relationship on the line here, and perhaps some financial involvement.
And chose to believe what turned out to be a fib. He was swayed by emotional bias instead of the evidence. Ah, Scientist Jeff. You must have felt so smug, thinking that you could throw me under the bus, and now you're left picking up your own broken image that the same bus has just rolled over. I believed I had a gentleman's agreement with Jeff. I was friendly and helpful to him, and he was recognizing and grateful in return. It seems I was let down. Personal insecurity must have got the better of him. It looks as if Jeff has become sensitive to the very concept of critical method in any scientific matter. He therefore desperately wanted to distance himself from me and my channel. With the supposedly wrong version fraud of Mike's thesis, he thought he could pounce. I want nothing further to do with this gossip-mongering element. Please erase the evidence of
It's beneath me.
every connection that I ever had with it. But when the purported gossip turns out to have been true, indeed a legitimate and scientific...
There's a comment under the video. Look at the science. Looks at the science. No, stop! Not like that! Yeah, they only cling to science when it pays them.
scientifically justified argument. Scientist Jeff will find it hard to avoid sharing the disgrace of the cover-up. Returning to Jeff Nippard's earlier request.
Not the Sardaukar throat singing.
I was happy to remove the line in my channel description, which Jeff claims implies that he's a current client of mine. I replaced it with one that clearly states that Jeff Nippard is a past, not current client.
That's true.
And in case anyone is under the misapprehension that Jeff Nippard...
He's about to sacrifice Jeff to the ancient gods.
is my current and not past client, then the
This is an offering for the algorithm.
word should be spread to the furthest corners of the internet by my decree. At the behest of Jeff Nippard, let it be known to all. He is a client of the past, not the present. The sacred tablets have been amended. Henceforth, any who utter the contrary falsehood shall be met with swift correction. So it is decreed. We arrive at the end, yet we return to the central puzzle I posed at the beginning. Why? Why would Jeff Nippard, a former client who repeatedly praised and paid for my expertise,
I need to know. Why?
launch such a bizarre, unprofessional, misguided, and intellectually bankrupt attack over a critique that was never about him? The man who has meticulously crafted a brand on scientific objectivity and calm rationality has, in this affair, acted as an incurious, prejudiced troll. As we've seen, his response was not one of reasoned disagreement. It was a series of shallow, straw-manning insults on social media.
That's the word I was looking for before, objectivity. If you're going to position yourself as an arbiter of truth, then you can't run defense for objectively shit science.
A blatant mischaracterization of our constructive professional interactions, and a string of aggressive, hypocritical private messages in which he decried the very drama he was single-handedly creating. This is not the behavior of a scientist engaging with a critique. It is the emotional reaction of an insecure insider lashing out, seemingly panicked by the prospect of genuine scrutiny and accountability entering his complacent domain. And this, ultimately, is the broader implication of the entire saga. It's an indictment of the evidence-based community, which for many is popularly spearheaded by scientist Jeff. When faced with a
That's right. Like I said, they own the market. It's cornered.
credible critique of an academic scandal involving one of its central figures, Dr. Mike, the response from Jeff's quarter was not soberly to embrace academic integrity, but to close ranks in denial for the sake of tribalistic solidarity. It demonstrates that for many in this space, science is little more than a brand identity, a pretentious tinny shield to hide behind, but one that's quickly discarded in favour of personal allegiances and playground insult when the flimsy foil is justly rattled. My critiques, whether of a flawed program or a questionable PhD, are born from a simple principle. The standards we claim to uphold must actually mean something. Jeff's actions suggest that for him, they don't. While I've now amended the record on my professional relationship with him...
That's right, he's a past client.
as per his petty and revealing request, the more important record, the one showing a leader whose principles collapsed in an uncritical support of a compromised scientific process, now stands corrected for all to see.
Might have to hire him. W ad. This whole thing was a VSL.